Morning, everybody. Today is Friday, September the 7th. It's the end of meeting, morning session. I'd like to give Mr. Parker to say the prayer. Mr. Falk, say the pledge. Everybody stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, prayer, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
All right, let's go to number 3 of administrative report. Mr. Booyah.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hope your September is treating you well so far. We're going to give some updates on Venture's status. We like to start every month off with some good news. And so as a project update, on August 13th, a few Mondays back, their public comment period for their draft environmental impact statement ended. There have been minimal issues that arose, even some comments that typically are very questionable at best, were more template, more less detail oriented than what FERC sees at times. So the draft EIS was issued first in June. We finalized that initial comment period on August 13th, and their final EIS will be issued by October 26th. The good news is that as of August 31st, FERC published a notice that it is anticipating making a final order, which is a ratification of their permit, that the final order will be granted no later than January 22nd of 2019. So very encouraging. We're seeing some closure. They're bringing that process to a head. January 22nd. So very, very good news. On Wednesday, September 5th, the staff participated in a call with FERC, basically on the status of the Commonwealth LNG project. They have committed to a timeline of submitting their resource documents, which are the large chapters of their FERC permit, between now and December, to have those to FERC. So that's encouraging. They're making some progress on their permit as well. For our Gomesa Shoreline project, last month the jury approved the submittal of the geotechnical permit. That is moving along. Permitting staff is keeping us well updated on any prospects. It seems that thus far we've seen the CPRA and Wildlife and Fisheries, I believe, both comment with little to no objections to what we're trying to pursue here. Our permitting agent is doing a good job of providing the information in a very, very timely manner. We're able to track it from our desk, how it progresses. The 30-day comment period, which is the joint public notice, began on August 24th and is scheduled to end on September 21st-ish. So barring any serious objections, it looks like the permitting process would take a couple weeks after that, generally we're being told. And lastly, for the Gomesa project, the draft agreement between the parish and the engineer of record, Maker, that service agreement has been finalized. It's been reviewed by our project managers, and that should be up for consideration on your voting meeting agenda. So we are making very good progress to keep this process rolling. We had a couple weeks of southeast wind, people started getting a little antsy, tides been a little high, and so it's time. It's time to get it going. Just a note for everyone, the October CPRA meeting, the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority, which is the state arm that allocates coastal restoration funds for us, they will be hosting their meeting here in Cameron on October 24th. And, we're really excited to have them here and have the opportunity to highlight what we've been able to accomplish in coastal protection and restoration for the entire state. Their board members will travel here, and in fact, it will be my first meeting as a board member. The insurance commissioner appointed me to the CPRA on August 21st. So really excited to have a Cameron Parish voice on that statewide coastal restoration board. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to bring to light our coastal issues, and of course, being an advocate for our priorities. Finally, on the Cheniere construction work in progress issue, we had two boards that were unable to make it to our last meeting on the 29th of August. Both of those boards voted unanimously to support the construction work in progress settlement. And so we are only missing the assessor out of all of our taxing entities. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
I got something for you. So all the boards have voted unanimously, everybody has signed the agreement?
Yes, sir.
Except the tax assessor again?
Yes, sir.
So we're still waiting on him?
Yes, sir.
What is his reason for not signing? Did he say anything?
I think he wants to look at it a little bit longer, is what he had referenced in that meeting. I know Mr. DuPont was unable to make it to that meeting due to work schedules. He has some concerns about what his obligations are when it comes to construction work in progress. And, I think he needs to wrap his mind around how that is going to move forward or not. From our perspective, the issue is very simple. Either Cheniere is assessed their taxes and they're placed on the tax roll, and that goes through whatever legal process it needs to go through, or the settlement's agreed to and we get some cash money on an issue that has the potential to not go anywhere. I don't know how many other parishes are going to be taxing construction work in progress. We don't know that yet.
What's the timeline? When's the deadline?
The deadline is October 15th. However, we tried to make it very clear that, Cheniere has 60 days to basically cut the checks and provide the cash for this year. And we've tried to make it very clear to everyone, especially the assessor, that some of these taxing districts are going to utilize this money to get through the end of this fiscal year. I mean,
Do you understand that?
some of these funds will go to taxing entities who will either borrow money from the bank or you to get to the end of the year. And so the timing for us is, although we acknowledge, yes, there's an October 15th deadline, that would give until middle of December to get the check. Again, the question is, do we want to assess one taxpayer and put them on the tax roll and go through whatever legal battle that needs to ensue, or do we agree to the settlement? That's really the only question. There is no other question.
My hope, I'm just one of five right now, but my hope is that Mr. Billings can come up with an answer before the deadline and a solution, if he's not going to sign it,
Right.
of how he's going to pursue this matter.
Right.
He needs to tell the people of this parish,
Right.
one way or the other.
Right.
Is he going to pursue this way, or is he gonna pursue it the other way? I think the people of the parish have the right to know his opinion and how he's gonna proceed.
I think he did. I think he told us that, January, we gonna get $235 million. All right?
That's been
That's
stated.
what, you know, that's his solution, or what he's telling us. I mean,
Is that the, we need to know, and he should be obligated to tell the people of the parish the route and the reasoning of what direction he's gonna go with this.
And then this is not a new issue. This is
No.
something that's been kicked around for a couple of years now. So,
If it's getting down, it's getting money, where we get.
the settlement is new, it's been offered, but
I
the
understand
CWIP
that it's
isn't.
not a legal question, is it? Last
There,
time it was a legal question.
the legality of the agreement, this is a settlement. This is a settlement.
So it's not really a legal,
Both the district attorney and the assessor stated in the multi-agency meeting that the law prior to the constitutional amendment being adopted was a gray area. Didn't say you could tax construction work in progress, didn't say you couldn't. Chanier's issue is the construction work in progress is tied to an industrial tax exemption. The industrial tax exemption goes away if you pay taxes on an asset. And as you could about imagine, when you are financing a $15 billion project, any new costs that were not part of your financial decision needs to be looked at hard.
and it's.
They are not going to allow that to take place, neither will Louisiana Economic Development. I mean, the Secretary of Louisiana Economic Development has stated time and time again, it's not being taxed other places. This will invalidate their ITE. This is not the best way to do business. That came from the Secretary of Louisiana Economic Development, and that was provided to the assessor.
But what I'm saying is that this has never been done nowhere else in the state.
It has not. And when the
And
voters.
how can you not, how could you not, if you're gonna pursue this, and you.
Which is his right.
And, right,
Which is
and
his
if
right.
you do happen to win this, so then you affect everybody else too, right?
So in the
You can't
last,
just- You can't just tax Chenier progress,
Mhm.
construction in progress,
Mhm.
you gotta tax Cameron LNG, you gotta tax people in the construction?
from,
Or can you waive those residents?
I think we've learned that there's a lot of flexibility in what the assessor can do. He has a lot of authority there. But what we learned in the Cameron LNG defeat of the pilot, we were told by the courts that uniformity is very important. You have to treat all taxpayers the same. We had people in this parish object to that pilot based on the fact of we were perceived to give a discount to one taxpayer and not everybody else. But now, 2 years later, we want to tax one taxpayer and not anybody else? Where did the uniformity issue go? So at this point in time, you have 1,400 construction permits that your permitting staff and you as a board have approved in this parish in the last 3 years. So according to the assessor, they have 3 years to put something back on the tax roll. So how are they gonna go back to 2015 and only put Chenier and not every home, every barn, any construction materials shipped to a site? When the constitutional amendment was approved by every voter in this state who participated in that election had a say. And I think it was over 60% it passed. That construction work in progress is not taxable. If I'm building my house and I'm getting materials shipped to my house, I don't pay sales tax on it if I have sales tax to levy in that parish. I'm not gonna owe property taxes on a residential structure that's still a bunch of 2x4s sitting in the yard.
So let me ask you a question. So that was passed in when?
That was in December of 17, it became effective.
Okay. He can only go back 3 years.
That's right.
And every day he clicks on is a day off of,
That's right, the previous tax roll. So as we stand today, he has 15, 16, and 17. By January 1, one of those years is gone
and you only got 2 years.
of construction.
Right.
Because as of December 17, it's not up for discussion anymore. So they can't tax for this year in 19.
So then it goes from 230-something million to 100-something million, and first thing you know, it goes to zero, and we ain't got a penny from nobody.
And we were all told in discussions on the pilot that those ITEs were invalid because Cheniere and Cameron LNG weren't manufacturers. Well, that lawsuit was dismissed in federal court 2 Thursdays ago. That class action lawsuit challenging the industrial tax exemption status of LNG facilities was dismissed.
Well,
So, we were waiting on that money too.
that's just up to y'all, but I'd like to put in a request, Mr. Orson, to give us an answer of what direction he's gonna go with this, and not, one way or the other. I don't know if we'll get an answer from him, I don't think we'll.
Because it is his call. It is his call.
But he ought to be upfront with the people of this parish.
It's his call to represent the people. How many boards just responded? None?
It's his responsibility to represent the people of this parish.
And he heard it. He was right there.
He's also responsible for not signing this agreement and delaying and not getting nothing at the end. He's also responsible for that, too, if he don't pursue it.
We're all responsible for the actions we take and the results of those actions.
All right.
That's not
Yes, sir.
No, Mr. Chair. It won't take long. Ryan, last month, we talked to you about the mail system we had. I asked something, you get something written up, something to go with the Senator Cassidy and Congressman Craig Higgins and them in Washington. Find out what's going on with our mail service and all the information we need. Do you have any update for me today? What we're fixing to do, the letter you're fixing to send out, to see what we can do with Washington DC on this issue?
We've, staff sat down and drafted a letter. And over the past month, we had some of your constituents in the Grand Lake area brought up some concerns about the new sales tax internet levy. So now there was some case law about, is internet sales taxable or not? And so there are some individuals in the Grand Lake area who are nervous about being taxed on internet purchases according to Calcasieu Parish's 5% sales tax, okay? And so this is a new issue that just came up. So we were trying to look into it a little bit. We're gonna incorporate that into the letter because that needs to be remedied, on a pretty quick time frame, if that is happening. So if a resident in Grand Lake's putting in their zip code for a purchase and they're adding their Lake Charles, Louisiana 70607, it's kicking in a sales tax that is not relevant to that resident as a taxpayer in Cameron Parish. They would pay the 4.45 state levy, not the 5% Calcasieu levy. So we have the internet sales tax issue, which we have addressed in the draft. We have the school district issue, having a clear-cut understanding of school kids, bus routes. That issue's been there for a while. We have the mail service delay issue. We have the first responder issue. When Mr. Falk was superintendent, there was a lot of discussions between Calcasieu and Cameron over 911 and all this. So I think it's appropriate. The last time the parish approached this issue, I think was in 2009 or 2010. And so we have a 2-page letter drafted to give them some historical background about the storms, the shift in population. Then we address some of the issues and some of these new issues that just came up. And so we will, at the request of the jury, copy our federal delegation on it. And hopefully they can make some progress, at least get us in the room with the right people to speak our piece and explain what our concerns are. But we did have residents reach out to us, being very concerned about paying that extra 5% sales tax solely based on their zip code. And so we need to look into it a little bit further, but
What was the, y'all remember when they made us add Grand Lake Charles to our zip code? What was that?
No, they told, only thing they told us to do, the last time we did all this, they said if you put your name in there and put your address, I'm gonna use mine for an example, at 10690 Highway 384, Big Lake, because I live in Big Lake.
Right.
Lake Charles, Louisiana, they're fine with that. Or you can put the same address at the bottom, put Grand Lake, Louisiana. They were fine with that, but you still had to use the 70607 zip. You couldn't have no choice. The last time we brought it to Washington DC, they told us this is just something very unique. There's not enough population to move this far to a new zip code only for you guys. But we were trying to get it all for Big Lake, Sweet Lake, Grand Lake, because they bring in Bell City's address up in the Sweet Lake area, somewhere off Ballpark Road or something. They bring a Bell City address in there with another zip code. So they're not looking at the whole situation like we look at it. And the fight, I had to fight on that fight, but we still just never got a truthful answer. The only answer we got was it was unique and it was impossible to get done. So I think the approach we're gonna try this is looking at trying to do. It's also an honor, said we have another little catastrophe here in the parish or something like that. You know, FEMA looks at where you live. You gotta prove so many documents. I mean, down here in Cameron, you have your own zip code. Grand Chenier, you have your own zip code. Hackberry, Johnson Bayou. We're the only one, because we're so close to Lake Charles, and that's what they keep telling us, that we're so close to Lake Charles that that zip code is in place. Well, we live in Cameron Parish. Yes, we got most of the population in Grand Lake, Sweet Lake, Big Lake area. We do need our own zip code there, and it's gonna eliminate a lot of headaches. It really will, because on my driver's license, it's gonna tell me, sure, I'll go to Lake Charles, get a new driver's license, but my zip code is this now. They know it's Cameron, they'll have it on your license as Cameron Parish. So it helps you out a whole bunch. You know, you gotta fight left and right to try to get something done for your people, but I mean, our hands are tied. Washington's gotta handle all this, not us. And the only thing I wanted was something we could do to the delegation in Washington and see what they can do or what they can send back to us. I mean, it's not really a big deal, but in a sense, it's very big, because it's not only just any devastation you have or anything you have, trying to prove where you live. You gotta have so much water bill, light bill, voters registration, you know. And then now Ryan brought up this tax deal, so people buying stuff on Amazon, they hope they realize what's going on, if this is all gonna portray. You know, but thanks, Ryan, I appreciate what we can do on this. I'd like to get it to them as quick as I can to get an answer on this, and we can bring it back to the press, we can bring it back to the people, and let them understand what's actually going on, and what the answer will be from our delegation in Washington.
right.
Didn't before, when Grand Lake had their post office, didn't y'all have 70606?
Say again?
I don't know.
Before, when they actually had a post office there, didn't y'all have 70606?
We don't have a post office up there.
No, but I'm talking about, didn't they have a 70606 zip?
They have a 7060 zip, that was so back far, I was a little bitty.
Well, why don't
I'm
y'all
big
just
now.
ask them to use that, 70606?
Right there.
For everybody over there.
It's very unique with the federal government for them to do stuff. I mean, the last letter we got come from bidders and comes from Bustani and that, and they said it was just unique, that it's hard to get a number out of the sky. Well, I mean, we're not asking for a number, but that number is still somewhere in existence.
It was already there, so I mean, it
Yeah,
would be easy to
look,
use that.
if people do what they want in Washington.
It's been
So,
607 as long as I was.
Yeah, it's changed up, it's changed up really big, you're right, 70606 was somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, whatever they can do, that's why we're sending this letter to find out. Thank you, Ryan.
I thought you had sent it there, we had 5 milk trucks in Grand Lake yesterday. bumped over each other, there were so many of
Maybe
them.
they read the bottom.
They were moving around yesterday.
A lot of people said they got a lot of junk mail yesterday they never had before. So, I don't know, but anyhow, Ron, I know we do, I don't think we need to authorize the president to sign it. He can sign that to send it off. Is a request to
It's a
our
request.
delegation up there to find out what we can get done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions, Mr. Ryan? You got anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay,
I'll quit while we're ahead.
okay. Let's move to number 4, Mr. Logan Pruitt, insurance quotes.
Thank Mr. Pruitt for heading down here today. He has some surgery there.
Getting close to you,
I'm
Lord.
doing good, and I'm happy to be here to see you.
Okay.
It's all good?
Yes, sir, it's all good, thank you.
Okay, you didn't
You
get
don't
wet
have to
coming
do
down?
much, I'll break down, but
Did you get wet coming down?
I did, I got that, thank you.
All right.
Okay, we've got some insurance policies coming up September 15th.
Okay.
I'm happy with all of them. You've got 2 summaries in front of you. The first summary at the bottom left, it says VFIS proposal. This is covering our volunteer fire insurance districts. We've been with VFIS for forever because they are the premier market. They are the market.
It might be the second one.
Second page?
I might be going second to first, but
Yeah,
that's where I
go
was
to the
going.
second page and then go
Uh,
follow him.
Okay.
Basically, the renewal premium is going from 202,000 to 184. 9% reduction in premium. I think the timing's good. It couldn't be better. We got a good program here. We got good coverage. I can sit here and talk for 30 minutes about it, but I don't see a reason to. Anytime I can come in here and deliver a flat premium, a reduction in premium, I'm happy with it. Unless y'all have any questions, I'm gonna start talking about the next proposal.
And Logan, this is flood included in
This
this
covers
for the
all
emergency
the,
services facility.
they have a very unique product. Their property coverage includes flood, full limits. It's not part of the National Flood Insurance Program, it's their program. I wish other insurance companies did that, they don't. We take the premium, we split it up for Darrell, it's allocated by each fire district. You know, I could sit here and just.
And we much appreciate that, Logan.
It's good, you know. I give you, for instance, these people, when Hurricane Rita hit, they were writing checks for policy limits before most adjusters showed up at other, you know, they're good to go. Next proposal, it says at the top, premium comparison for Cameron Parish Police Jury. This is the casualty coverages for the police jury. We're with Travelers. For our general liability, our employee benefits, our public entity management liability, the employment practices, and the commercial auto, we are with Travelers. We've been with Travelers for a number of years. We left and we came back. Travelers, here again, is a premier public entity insurer. They're stable, they're strong financially. Our excess workers' compensation coverage is with employers, Midwest Employers, and York, which used to be Fair, handles our loss control and our workers' compensation claims. Basically, you'll see 2 columns there. The expiring premiums for all of these coverages totaling 272 and the renewal 276. It went up $4,300, 1.6%. Wow. I'm happy with that.
Wow.
We've been stable. We were stable last year. We're stable this year. We've got good quality companies. We're doing something right. I think a lot of it is Parish. So keep it up.
That's right.
I'm not going to go into detail on each policy, but Darrell has the complete proposals. There are a number of pages. If y'all would like for me to at some later point, I'll be happy to. But you know, we've been doing business a number of years, and and I appreciate the business.
Well, you done a fine job on this one here again.
I appreciate it.
Joe, do we need to move it forward on the vote?
It's on the agenda to approve, because
Okay.
these policies expire September 15th, so this is to.
Thank you, sir.
Just for information, just this, on these, this general liability, those, the property on the buildings outside of the fire stations, that comes up in February of every year, flood insurance comes periodically. So just to let y'all know, this is the general liability and all that is explained. So, as VFIS covers everything, and that's what you're paying right now for the fire stations and those buildings, just for information for y'all.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Logan? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Logan.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, moving along, we'll go to number 5, Emily Mock, Long Beach Road update.
Sorry, I'm short. Good morning, I wanted to give y'all an update on Long Beach. We have started making repairs to it. It took so long because we had to wait for the FEMA funding from last year, and we had some ups and downs with this road. It is in the Johnson Bike area, Parish Road 530. We went in and started making the repairs, and like I said, right now with the weather and stuff, it's kind of got us on a backlog. We can't get any dry material. But it's coming along really good. We were able to go in and move all the riprap, put it back on the south side. And I apologize for not having any of the pictures. They just don't do justice right now unless you're out there seeing it. So next month, I'd like, if everything goes good with the weather, I'll get y'all some updated pictures and kind of look and see what we've done to this road so far. Do you have any questions?
Good deal, thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
All right, y'all review your agendas.
Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
Ryan, you think that the letter you're drafting to Washington and that, could we get that out to the people also, let them see what we're doing? Or we can put it on our website or something?
Sure. That's not a problem at all.
You know, maybe get it in the press or whatever, let everybody know what we're trying to do. And
Sure.
maybe somebody can step forward that is greater than all of us, you never know.
We'll have it placed on the website, and we can even share it on the Facebook page too, just for the public to see.
That's all, thank you, Ron.
On the agenda review, I'd like to review when we are voting and discuss P 201-80830, which is the, what they call it? The,
What was that, what was
What
that?
number is that?
Item what?
That's, there's two, it's C01, P01-80830. It's a joint district salinity control.
6A,
Item
6A.
6A.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
6A.
permit.
Permit, yeah.
Yeah, we had an issue with that, Davey, if you recall, when we held that meeting, in Creo, a lot of your constituents made it very clear that they had some questions, relative to impacts to fisheries and drainage specifically. And I'm glad you pointed that out. The CPRA, promised in that meeting to have subsequent follow-ups here in the parish, which they have committed to. And I think that you should make the motion at the appropriate time to delete that item until further notice. Specifically, delete that item until the CPRA comes and provides the information that your constituents asked for.
Well, a couple months ago, they gave us, our drainage board here, they gave us blueprints when they were building. And we couldn't figure out what the V was. Then we realized what it was the east and west side, they
Okay.
wanted to close
The
it
seal.
all. And we told them, no. And I asked them how much we could save them, they said 22 million. I said, well, I got rocks, I need. You know,
I think that they've,
but they're not, it ain't in this packet, I didn't see it.
it was item 6A on the voting meeting.
You know, I mean, I looked at the thing through things.
Oh, okay.
I see that drawing that we didn't know what it was.
The drawing, okay. But at this
It's still
point,
got the map, it's still got lines to it on their map.
okay. I think at this point, it'd be good if you made the motion to delete that item when you get to approval of add-ons or review the agenda for the voting meeting. And we will set up those meetings as soon as possible and will not take action on this until all the answers have been provided.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna table this motion?
We need to delete it.
You're can delete it.
Remove it.
Delete the item.
Until further notified, those public reasons.
Yes.
Right now.
No, at the voting meeting.
Hey, do what?
Or the ordinance?
Yeah, we discussed it last month, the ordinance,
Yeah.
it's inclusive just for the police during District 2.
Yeah,
And, you know,
okay.
it's finalized up to this point, the DA has sent that, added the legal description for the district, so,
They gotta go through a public hearing.
yes. And the add-on will be to have a 45-day public hearing.
Comment period, everything.
Go ahead.
Miles?
Talked to Dino earlier, he wants to, on the fence part of it, he wants it to stay with the inside 2 foot of the property.
3 foot,
Three?
inside, 3 foot inside.
Like you said, 2
Property
earlier.
line, so they maintain, it's only to maintain, it's not the only other land on the property.
The only change that he's wanting to make, I believe.
3 foot, maybe too small, man.
Yeah, but it might have, has something to do with a law about putting a fence on the property line. And I know I run into it myself. You leave that fence up for so long, and that fence becomes the property line. So you may want to check.
I don't know about that.
I don't know what the distance is. I was told one time, I wanted to put a fence on the property line. And I said, well, I don't want nobody touching my fence on the other side of the property. So I chose to move that fence 4 inches on my property to where it was my fence and my property. Then I was told, remember, if it stays there for 10 years, that fence becomes the property. So I lost 4 inches of property.
This is Tom?
That's what I was told.
He didn't want to.
I'm just saying.
Paycheck, it just seems.
Bring your paycheck.
There, it would, in Louisiana law, if someone occupies, possesses property for in excess of 30 years, and they don't have a document saying they own it, they squat on the property, is what it's called, then they can make a claim that they now own the property if no one has tried to kick them off. And those are very loose terms I'm using. Facts are important, but there's a 30-year prescription period. If you don't have a legal title to the property and you squat on the property, then you can claim ownership, and then you got to fight the world for your ownership. The 10 years is only if there is a title. So if there's a document that I bought property from Darrell, but the description's inaccurate, it's wrong. It includes more than what I was supposed to own, just by mistake, whatever. And I've occupied and used that property that I didn't know it was improperly included. Then with that title, with that document, and 10 years of occupation, then I can claim all the property. Again, it doesn't mean I'm gonna own it. I can just make a claim and then I gotta fight the other owners that claim it. Then it becomes a lawsuit and whatnot, and again, facts are important. But that's the 10-year, 30-year distinction, and that's why I just bring up the 10 years. 10 years if you have a document, 30 years without a document. Now, the point about putting the fence down, if you put a fence down, you don't lose your property unless 50 years from now, somebody comes back and, hey, that fence has always been there. Your neighbors started to possess and use that 4 inches or that 3 feet, and they act like they own it. Well, if they've done that for 30 or 40 years with no opposition or objection from you or your heirs, then they can claim ownership to that 4 inches or 3 feet or whatever. Doesn't mean they own it, they can just claim ownership, and they gotta go to court and fight it out.
I knew there was some, I knew
But it's
there
a
was.
30-year deal, so I don't think this waters.
This is
In
not.
today's world, that very seldom happens. We're talking about, these are these are ancient rules that, 100 years ago. In today's world, it's next to impossible to occupy a property without somebody knowing it, unless you're in the middle of Wyoming or Alaska. So a 3 foot buffer is not typically gonna be a problem.
I just wanted
That's more than you probably want to know, but
Okay.
I want the
Okay,
people
thank
in
you,
the
sir.
crowd to know.
I just wanted to make sure that it was clear with everybody, you know.
You know, you said it-
Proposing something that.
I know we've talked about it, it's just gonna be the Hackberry area. Is it gonna be just that one district, or both districts in Hackberry?
District two.
Just District Two? So it won't affect that, and that district going in the bottom?
Okay.
District Two only? Okay.
So,
Everybody good with moving into the meeting?
yeah, well, I mean, if he needs any modifications to the fence section of that, we'll modify. We have enough time between, it won't get on there until the December, November meeting at the earliest for the 45-day notice.
Darryl, that Lower Cameron District, they're gonna go to a 25.28 mil
Yeah,
millage?
well, we-
Raise it that high?
I'm good to put that.
Good.
On the agenda for this afternoon, we have two resolutions to call elections for the Cameron Fire District 8 mil and for a renewal for Fire District 16 Lowry for 11.32. We also have to ratify the calling of election for Lower Cameron Ambulance Unit for District Number 1 that you're talking about, and it is going to be so I asked Mr. Broussard, just in case y'all had any questions, to be on hand. Y'all ratifying the resolution they've already adopted to have a 25.28 mil tax. In the Creole District, they had a major loss of taxable value for those districts specific to Creole for our fire district 7 in Creole. They had a 52% loss in value. Their taxes, their estimated taxes from the assessor's recap is $29,000. But they just had a renewal. So right now, the assessor's asking those districts if they want to have a reassessment. I'll get to the part of it. It's all together.
Darryl.
The fire district can't participate in reassessment, so we have to call a reassessment for the bond, the Creole Fire District 7 bond, to make our required bond payment. So, because of that loss of revenue in that district, that's what I think Byron and them have to address. I think that's what they're trying to do here, and he can address the questions about the increase in village tax. But they had a major loss of revenue in the Creole.
And their millage was 12 mills?
That's what it was renewed for in the last renewal,
Okay.
10
When was
years,
the last renewal?
2008. Byron?
We have two separate taxes, and this one was in 2008.
They just had a renewal in 2017. They have two taxes, a small one, 4.44 mil, and there was the current tax for the other one is 15.78. The 15.78 is the one they're calling for a new tax for, the 24.28.
25.
In 2017, they had a renewal for the small one that passed, 4.44. So that's their status right now, and that's what.
Go back to the people in the floor voting.
The 24th, that's coming up, that's March 30th. That's what you're ratifying, is their calling of that election for Lower Cameron Ambulance District 1. To call election for 25.28 million.
Now, I know, Mr. Broussard, I know that a lot of these districts are trying to up their taxes because they're out of money. Were y'all out of money?
Well, we do have some investments in LAMP.
Man, come up here, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Please.
Actually,
How much how much money
I'll
you do have in your bank account, please?
I brought all that information, because I'm here for a moment to cover something I have to do. If you don't mind, the
Yeah, I got it.
The reason I included that first page, it comes from the tax assessor's office, because the first village they had listed on here is actually wrong. We had it at 5.84 because we were allowed to go up to that because of reassessment, but we ended up re-electing it at its original millage, which was 4.44. So we're actually going down on that, so that amount is smaller than is listed on here.
Yeah, and she's gonna adjust those. This is the preliminary recap.
Well, she's not gonna be able to adjust the 4.44.
No, she's gonna adjust the recap to 4.44. We had the same thing with.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, but she's also, I just got a call yesterday, said they were gonna try to reassess what we can collect on the other. And on the second page there, I just put, kind of what has been trending with the district, going back to 2014. We've had various villages, I think, the reason we started out, we actually had 12 at 4.44 back in 2014. We were asked to go down if we could, and at the time, so we did. And then you can see how that trended throughout those years. The biggest thing that stands out to me, obviously, is the loss in property values. You go back to 2014, compared to the one that just came out, that's less than half the value of what we had back then. Really kind of gave us an alarm that we only collected 72% last year of what was taxable. But of course, we were later explained that the company that went bankrupt was still being considered in the taxable values, and but ended up bankrupt, so not actually paying with that. Is what it was explained to me. So just listed there for those years that I had the numbers for taxes, assessed taxes minus taxes actually collected. So that's what we came up short. 2017 was pretty consistent with 16. Now, our operating expenses, our payroll grows every year, not by a lot. Each employee gets a $500 raise per year, which is 10 cents an hour on their scale. What's really killing this is the health insurance. And those expenses are listed on the second page. You'd like to see those.
For the health insurance, question on that. The Hamlet district paid all your health insurance. You and your
Not
family?
this district. We asked for a small contribution from the employees, which is $200 for family coverage and $125 if they just have a child or a spouse. District 2 does cover, but I mean, I'm not going to speak for them, you know. But we do have a meal per diem that they don't have. So this non-tax income that's underneath the operating expense, that comes from the money we receive on patient revenue accounts, okay? So we run the car, we bill what we can from their insurance, and if they don't live in the parish, we bill for the whole thing, or a percentage of collection. We write off the Campbell Parish balances, Campbell Parish residents, for both districts, which leaves us with the operating expense that we have to cover with other resources besides interest income and patient revenue. So that's our three sources of income: patient accounts, ad valorem taxes, and interest income. And we kicked around some numbers. We spent a lot of time on this. You know, the board was really concerned about the financial burden it's going to put on some property on the county. But we came up with this 4.4 was the original tax, and 25.28 would give us a total of collectible taxes of 1.5. We do pay a parish pension out of our money, even though our employees don't have that pension, and that's been averaging about $47,000. And then we expect, as usual, to have some uncollected taxes there as well. So you were asking me about our current financial position. Right now in checking, we have $533,000. We use that to pay bills, and we transfer it out to pay our payroll. We keep $5,000 in payroll cash for between paydays. On paydays, we meet with the board members of each person and have a second signature on the checks. So that's what we have in the bank right now. Now the other cash we have, we just started the labor accounts this year, and we doubled our interest income by doing that. We still have one lingering CD that the board will probably, when it matures in March, will probably move into the labor accounts as well. So that's cash on hand. But you have to also consider that these operating expenses, while they do have a depreciation expense included, it doesn't really account for buying new ambulances over the 10-year period we're talking about. And And we also have some concerns about the outlying stations we have. We have them in some mobile homes that both went through light. And we've had to do some repairs, because they just, things show up when rust or weak flooring, and we've had to replace things like that. So the board is always, considering, something, new facilities or different facilities for those outlying, stations. So that's where, our extra expense might come from over the next 10 years. And if you look at the next page, it'll show you a lot of the stuff I just went over. This top, the one I have marked, is the source of income. That's directly related to patient accounts. And then those other two agreements are, one is our ad valorem taxes, and these are for the 16 and 17, and then the interest income. So we've been operating at a loss of $362,000 and $344,000 respectively, and probably a few more years, at least one more.
A lot of that loss is depreciation though, Byron, so that's 78,000, 80,000 a year depreciation loss, so that's a non-cash loss.
I understand, but it also talks about depreciation of, facilities.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but that's
You still got $6 million in the bank.
No, sir.
No?
Wait. Oh. my
4
bad.
point, from your audit report, it's 4.3.
4.3 million in the bank.
For December 31st, 2017.
Are you concerned that if you raise the ad valorem that high, people will reject your proposal?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a good percentage of yes votes in the past. I mean, we haven't done it in 10 years, and I don't do this very often, but we've had a good percentage of yes votes. And this board toiled over that for an hour on this one issue where they could go forward with it, and that was the reason. They really didn't want to put the burden on the residents.
The residents is the one who's going to allow your comment.
Right, yeah.
You have the Cameron Fire, one of these resolutions is a new tax for Cameron Fire District, $8 million. And the one concern I have, Creole Fire District, their maintenance tax with this loss in value. In a year, they may be having to ask y'all to run a new tax for the Creole Fire District as well. I mean, it's the Creole District really get it. So, you got some new millage. I mean, with these tax requests.
You run these taxes, you don't have to pay bills.
Yes, and that, we're well aware of that, but we can't go up, so that's what the max that we discussed was the max, and we are absolutely open to drawing a lesser levy on these taxes as time goes by, and we see that we can do that.
Yeah, well, we've done that.
Change, things could change.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
I think Mr. Byron has some good, if you look at the next couple of charts, you're gonna see that taxes collected chart. It's exactly what we had in all the town hall meetings we've done over the last 2 years. Exact same chart, assessed value, same chart, except Hackberry and Johnson body's a little bit different. Theirs are starting to go up a little bit.
I know, I saw that.
But not here yet, okay? And then if you look at the next one, I think that's probably what you were getting ready to answer, a question on, your cash balance and how you're looking at your.
Yeah, well, this chart was created with the help of my auditor, and I asked him to come up with, he thought our projected loss to be, and I wanted to bring this information to our last meeting, and that's what he saw, because as you pull the money out of your investments, you're also losing some investment income, so it's an cumulative effect when you start doing that.
Oh, yeah, eventually, yeah, it'll whittle down, $300,000 a year.
Anyway, that's the information I brought for you guys to make an informed decision. I'm glad to answer any questions about it.
Any questions, Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Jim.
All right. All right.
This is just incredible.
The ambulance district covers Grand Near Creole
Yeah.
and Cameron.
And down here,
Down south.
ours is up top.
And ours is.
Ambulance District 2.
Hackberry, Grantley, Big Lakes.
But it's all in.
That's District 2.
Lower.
Okay. We're Johnson by Hackberry.
Now, we did, get an architect to see about building a house, for, an architect to design, build a house for us, for, grants in here, and, cabins. Because they live in the trailers that fall apart, and, they come up with ungodly numbers. 1.2 million.
That's what they hard to do.
Yeah, I know. You can't do that when Miss Booth is trying to eat a cookie. But the deal is. We just told them, you know.
Well, I think, Mr. Daly, the part that the board is having a hard time wrapping their heads around is that they may live in a $200,000, $250,000 house. We're asking for a fraction of that square footage. We don't need public access at an outlying substation. Because if somebody walks up with an injury, we're gonna immediately escort them to the ambulance. That's where all our equipment is. And so we really don't understand why we have to have access for handicap, things like that. Whenever we really just need to put a roof over two medics' heads so they can respond to emergency from that. But we end up in the commercial code requirements every time we try to do that.
Correct. So a mobile home or a residential home, you're not, the ambulance people ain't supposed to stay there. Okay, it's gotta be a commercial building, like they got by the ambulance. A modular, mean if it's approved by the state farm marshal law. You can do a modular. It's gotta be approved through the state farm marshal law. But a manufactured home and a regular house, no. And that, but that's all over the state. I mean, it ain't just here in our parish, it's in Gottlieb, and the state farm marshal's office is aware of it. They don't know what they're gonna do, so. No, sir, they didn't talk to them.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
on 6E,
6E?
yeah, a permit,
Yes,
Trout
sir.
and Rougeau, that's, it's for an RV community in Hackberry, north of Angler Bay subdivision. It's not an RV park, he's doing 18 lots. I think it might be 100 by 150 or something like that. He's gonna sell the lots, it's not for rent, so, but he's telling the people as he sells them, it's for an RV. Park an RV here, gonna have water access with a canal, for your boats and stuff. We did give some objections on that, we got 6 objections. The objections are for a private road that we don't maintain. They're worried about the increased traffic, the maintenance of the road, that's what they're telling us, and the loss of value of their camps or homes that they got there now. These objections aren't consistent with our coastal use guidelines that we gotta go by. Because we're not worried about, we can't deny a permit on a private road, or because of what they're gonna have there. They already got RVs back there anyway.
Yeah.
So the objections we got, the applicant did answer those questions. He knows they are relevant. What I'm saying is there's no reason for y'all to deny it because there's no reason on the coastal use guidelines. Okay? But I need to let y'all know. When I'm asked for a public hearing, but there's no reason.
Because it's not popular, it's.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You good? Everybody good?
Any questions on the change order for the courthouse?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Good.
when's the last one gonna come?
No, ain't nothing you knew about it, got to rock and roll, bro.
No, just,
Yeah.
one will be tabled, the days, that'll come back up next month.
It's gotta be what it's gotta be.
Yeah.
Daryl,
You have anything else?
I got an add-on one for Sonny.
Early in the budget.
We got, Mary just reminded me, we
I have a
got,
comment, but I'm not gonna make it.
Okay.
let me just, go through the add-ons, Mr. Son, we need to add on, an appointment for Lower Cameron Hospital District Number 2. Ms. Patty Morris resigned, and he's gonna appoint Bridget Snyder. So that's an add-on, and the modified RV permit public hearing.
That's an add-on.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you're taking one of them off.
Y'all gonna have to delete it.
Delete it.
At the meeting. delete it, remove it for further.
Okay. Anything else? Everybody good? Okay, good? All right, meeting's adjourned.